Hey guys, it's Cyrus of Chaos. I'm here with Michaela Joyce, and today we're going to be watching the semifinal bout between Zofia Janelli from Poland and Gaia Caforio from Italy in the semifinals of Cadet World Championships this year. And I'm going to let Michaela introduce herself and tell us why she picked this bout. So, Michaela, take it away.
Hi guys, my name is Michaela Joyce, and I fence for Cardinal Fencing Academy. So the reason why I chose to do this bout with you all today is because I want to emphasize on the point and the separation between patience and this idea of active patience. And I think this is a great bout to see that, and I will explain it as we watch the bout.
Sounds good. All right, let's get started.
Semifinal is underway, and I have to agree because she had a really nice lead against Mazur, and she held it, but there was some really tense moments there for her. But one thing we do know, Poland is guaranteed a medal in these World Championships.
So during the exploratory phase, they both seem to be pretty active.
They are. They're basically finding each other's distance. If we could pause really quick.
Sure.
All right, so one thing I want to emphasize on is the amount of preps Janelli is doing versus Caforio. So if we go back and watch, while Caforio is doing preparations, they're just not threatening. They're not threatening any target, and they're just out of distance while Janelli is using her point to probe in and get a little closer to Caforio's distance with her tip.
Yep.
And I think that's a super important point because it's opening up a lot of opportunities. Right,
totally.
Like right there. She pulled her in, made her think that she was going to step back, and she had the distance, but yet her point was in, and she just went into it, and it was brilliant. Right there. Boom.
Yeah, good distance control.
It was really good.
She's recovered from her bout of nerves. And we are surrounded by Polish fans.
Okay, so we're seeing a little more. Boom! Right there. If we can pause. So this was a super important touch in the bout. I know it's super early, but it's going to set up a lot of the bout from now on. Caforio did a very interesting thing. If we can just replay that touch one more time.
And we are surrounded by Polish fans.
At that big 8 right there.
Polish fans.
That big 8 was super necessary. If she did not take that big 8, Janelli's point was right underneath the guard, and it would have been an automatic touch for Janelli, hands down. Janelli actually here won the distance, won the timing. She just lost on action choice. Her point was on target because she was prepping to a valid target instead of just prepping. And that big 8 really saved Caforio there. If she didn't take it and didn't go in, it would really be Janelli's touch.
Through on that attack.
Watching.
Something else to point out is that this is in Poland, and so Janelli's going to have a lot of support from the crowd here.
Definitely. And that definitely does play a big role later in the bout when it gets closer.
Yeah, there was that 8 again.
Yep. Now, Caforio's kind of using the 8 more to her advantage to set up an action instead of just a defensive attack, basically, pretty much. So she's learned that she can match up Janelli's half-step timing and then take that 8 and go in. That's what I'm seeing.
Gotcha.
Right there.
Yeah, it looked like she set up the action the same way both times, but Janelli's reaction to it was different each time. The first time she tried to go in, and the second time she tried to go out, but because the 8 was strong and was technically correct, she was able to deal with both situations the same way.
I agree. And that's one of the great things I think about Italian fencing and the Italian fencing style. They're so creative. They're so strong on the blade. But yet everything that they do, it's very well orchestrated, and the technique it's impeccable. You can really see that.
Yeah. I also like in general that the Italians are pretty active. It makes the fencing a lot more enjoyable for me, at least.
All right. There's no real change in that distance here at this point in the bout.
Wow, there it is again.
All right. There it is again. One major problem I'm seeing with Janelli's fencing at this point in the bout, the preps are becoming predictable. They're becoming super, super predictable. Boom, right there. That 8 again, and boom, she goes right in again. Because Janelli's preps are always to the same target. And I think this is a good point to make, that it is a lefty-righty bout. That beat 4 to the outside is super open for Janelli, but I don't think she's really using it in her game that well to her advantage.
Yeah, the only thing that Caforio is thinking about is defending her low line. And so whenever Janelli does anything, that's her default reaction, just parry low.
Exactly.
And you can see how early she's reacting to it. Like it's not like the blade is about to hit her. She's got a lot of room there. So that's a very safe action for her.
And she's hitting on the recover because she knows if Janelli's momentum is going backwards and she's trying to pull herself up from a super long and explosive and committed lunge, she's not going to be able to hit her.
Yeah, I'm also going to point out something that has nothing to do with the fencing. I just noticed that the lights are in the wrong masks. So Caforio gets the hit, and Janelli's mask light turns on.
That's a bit odd.
I've never seen that before.
I haven't either.
Yeah, that's just an armor mistake.
Absolutely. And the thing that I'm sitting here thinking is that I saw a lot of Yeva Mazur, who was the number 5 seed of Ukraine throughout the day. She looked really strong. And Janelli really controlled her.
Let's see if the trend of attacking to low line or prepping to low line continues. Is she still...
Okay,
Go ahead.
This is really the first change that we'll see in the bout with Janelli's fencing, and this will come back. Instead of going out of Caforios' attack and then trying to go back in when she's already a tempo behind, she's now staying there and defending herself and hitting at the same time, instead of just trying to get away and not get hit. She's doing both. And I think that's where this idea of momentum comes in. She found something that works, and now let's see if she'll keep it.
Maybe it is some residual nerves of being out here in a semifinal.
There we go. Now, Caforio made a unique change, too. She started prepping, like Janelli, under the hand. Before her preps weren't to a distinct target, so she was always a tempo behind. But here she started here and then finished to the body.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And still using the 8 to protect herself a little bit.
Definitely. She can do both at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel her preps having more pressure on Janelli, like you were saying a second ago.
They are. They're really forcing Janelli to fence her, pretty much.
Ooh, wow.
Ooh, okay. Double. I was expecting that. But it was really only a double because Janelli stayed in the game. If she came out, she would have been a tempo late. She stayed in. She stayed in the game. And then she continues forward instead of continuing backwards.
Double there. Maybe if she can get to the 1 minute break and be within 2 or 3, she can get settled. Talk to her coach.
We're getting to a very, very important moment in the bout. There we go. This moment in the bout, 3-5 situations, first period, it's really going to decide, is she going to let Caforio run with it? Or is she going to hang in there and fence and fight and at least make the score close? That's really what we're seeing.
This attack also looked like the first time she really decided to hit a higher line. And Caforio has the same low parry reaction because it's been working for her so far, but this time that parry does not work because she's attacking to a higher line. She also attacks with
target change.
Yeah, she also attacks with control of the blade as well, so
She does, and it's really, really good. It's very good when it's set up properly. Oop, see, that prep with the change of line?
Yeah, another one.
Except it didn't work. What I'm really seeing is that Janelli is trying to pull Caforio in, but because Caforio is just immediately shutting down with either an 8 or a 2, it's just not going to work from that distance.
Mm-hmm.
She's way too close to pull, because if Caforio goes, Janelli really only has a split second, and she's reacting instead of setting it up and making it her touch.
Mm-hmm.
She's really fencing on Caforio's terms here.
And like you said, a lot of that is a function of good distance.
It is. Super important in epee, especially women's epee. Super important. There we go again. Janelli provokes, but it's a little too committed. Caforio has the upper hand on the timing.
And again, it's to low line. Or not low line, but
Yep.
it's from low.
Exactly. She cuts her off, and then boom, she has that timing to go. It's all hers.
Well, time will run out here in the opening.
Okay,
period
so
of our first semifinal
clearly,
match.
if you're Janelli's coach, you're going to probably be telling your student that instead of making preps to like slightly low target like that, you should be either making them to the outside or high sometimes. Just give her
And
more things
I
to
would-
think about.
With her coach.
I would give her a little more variety on the preps. I'd tell her to add a beat, a little shocking beat to the hand, and then finish it off with maybe a flick to the hand. Because honestly, in my personal opinion, if someone is making this many preps to the hand and not hitting on them, I think there's a good chance that, at least with this opponent, she just is not able to find the target and hit. So, and I think Caforio might be starting to see that just by looking at the preps she's not scared of the hand preps anymore.
Yeah.
So they're obviously not really as effective. If your opponent isn't scared of the fact that they could get hit on the hand, they're not effective.
Yeah, the prep loses a lot of its bite.
Definitely. So if I was Janelli's coach, I'd say, okay, now let's just add a beat, and now maybe let's push the point into the body a little bit more on the prep, so that way you're a little closer when she comes in. I would finish with the super, super committed action, maybe a flash, but not a lunge that's almost halfway there. It would have to be super, super committed.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't actually seen any really deep actions like a flesh so far.
And it's not giving her a second tempo.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. When you're going and it's not committed, you don't have a second tempo. You don't have a second chance to hit.
Gotcha.
Because at this level, the idea that Caforio having the ability to just get hit on a simple, one-tempo action, it's not likely at this distance.
Let's see if she makes that adjustment at all.
We start our second period in our first semifinal. The big night here in Torun. Poland is guaranteed a medal. Which kind it's going to be is...
Wow, she sure backed off a lot.
Zofia Janelli.
She's stopped making pretty much all aggressive preparations.
Exactly.
And of course, Caforio doesn't really need to make anything happen right now. She's winning, so...
Exactly. And she knows that Janelli's fencing, the best of Janelli's fencing tends to be counter-attacks and counter-prep work. And like right there,
Yeah.
Caforio knows that if she went in at that moment, it would at least be a double. At least. So it was really in her favor to go. And she doesn't have to do anything. And by Janelli stopping to apply that pressure, it really takes that advantage away.
Why do you say...
It really takes that advantage away.
Why do you say it would at least be a double? Because she's the one who's initiating the action?
She's the one initiating, and because of how close they are, and because of how committed Caforio went, In my opinion, that would have at least been a double.
Okay.
More intention from Janelli here. She gets the parry, it's a double. That was a good try.
It was just too close.
Yeah, you mean
way too close.
You mean if Janelli decided to counterattack there, right? Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
And I think based on how Janelli was fencing this entire bout, that's the most likely reaction we were going to see from her.
Yeah, it makes sense. Every time Caforio does anything, her instinct is to counterattack a little bit low, so...
Now, see here, we might see a change from Janelli. If Janelli decides to stay in and fence a little more in those distance when Caforio's coming in, she can have a chance to win this bout. Let's see if she does it. Right, a lot of really preps.
Yeah, it just seems like when Gaia takes the initiative, it's a problem for Janelli.
It is, because Janelli's prepping in a perfect distance to go. She's not prepping in a perfect distance to make preps. And I think that's really the problem here. Is if you stay in that distance for way too long, you're really in hot water there.
It's a dangerous spot, yeah.
It's really dangerous.
Picking up a piece of paperwork, did she let one slip there? That's a double.
At least she tried to do something there, yeah.
She tried to do something, but it was, in my opinion, then she went in prep distance instead of, she did the opposite of what she was doing. But the distance wasn't right, and knowing that Caforio had that 8, I wouldn't have went for that low line personally.
Yeah, she hasn't made the target change yet.
Not at all.
There it is again.
To see more of those.
Oh, here's an important change. This is the first real important change we'll see from Janelli. So I think that was the opposition for it. It wasn't very clean because it was on her recovery. It wasn't super clean if we're watching it. Let's see. Opposition, yep, she takes that line. She went in for it. Wasn't very clean, but it was there. And instead of coming out and trying to protect herself, she's staying in and hitting. That's a really important thing. She's staying in and fighting so that way she isn't behind the tempo. She's taking advantage of the fact that Caforio went in on the perfect moment for her.
Yeah, and every other time, well, most other times that this action has happened where she started with an attack to the low-ish line, Caforio has been punishing her for trying to get away. So this time, staying in was a good mix-up. And
it was really good.
And Gaia was not expecting it.
In my opinion, although Janelli is behind here, Janelli has the momentum. It's in her favor. If she keeps doing what she's doing and setting it up very well, changing the setup, changing the prep timing, using the things that she's learned from the past touches, Janelli has a chance here. She can fight and come back. Let's see. All right. Her preps are starting to get a lot more aggressive. Again.
Oh, big parry.
Boom.
That was a little different.
There it is. Yep. It was a different finish, but it's the same idea as in she stayed in. I don't think in this bout the finish, well, it's important that you choose the right action choice, but she stayed in.
Yeah.
Instead of coming out, she stayed in and fought.
This is a little close for me. Like, that seems dangerous.
Yes, it is dangerous, but I think when she has that timing and the momentum's in her favor, and it is a risk, I think it's a very well-calculated risk. If you know that it works and you're losing anyway, and this is really your opportunity to make a comeback, I think it's a well-calculated risk.
Yeah, I just think
In my
that
opinion.
she's staying a little too close to get that consistently. Like look where Caforio's point is when they're making blade contact with each other. Like that's really close.
That is true. If I personally was Janelli, my preps would be just as aggressive, but I would be doing it from a
tiny
longer
far,
distance,
a tiny bit farther away. Yeah, because like
agree.
when we were I paused it before and showed where Caforio was taking the parry, and it was like a good 6 to 8 inches away from her. This is practically on her body.
So, it is like it's it's so close you can't even see how close it is.
Yeah, that's not a particularly repeatable touch in my opinion. Even though like the idea was good, I think the execution was not great. But she got the touch, so
let's see if she opens it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think she will, unfortunately. All right, boom, that prep again. Okay. That's a little different.
Yeah.
So she finished to the low line. She figured out the timing for the low line.
And again, she went in with control of the blade.
She went in, and instead of just trying to hit on the recovery, she stayed in and just, boom, put it in again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That one's not so painful.
Caprio's favor, remember?
Yep.
Janelli, if you stay in that distance and don't go, and you're prepping that close, Caprio's going to take advantage of it. Let's see if Janelli's going to try to tie the score before the break.
Do you think it's a good idea to try to do that, or?
Honestly, the way the bout's going, she has the momentum, yes.
Go for it. She does, and she gets it.
There she goes.
Yeah, she's been staying in with those remises a lot more, and it's been working a lot better for her.
It is working a lot better. I wouldn't do anything here, of course, but before I would have went, honestly. I think she had the momentum. Instead of letting Caforio, talk to the coach and try to figure it out, because obviously this is working, tie up the score.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to lose at that point.
Yeah, now if
Especially,
I was... Go ahead.
Because especially now in Epee, you have those double touches that Caforio can really use in her advantage, especially as we're getting closer to 15. I would have really just, boom, done it.
Yeah.
So what about Caforio?
I would, if I were Caforio's coach, I would be telling her to, when she makes her defensive actions, be making her repose against someone who's going to stay in and try to remise her instead of someone who's trying to get out the way that Janelli was before.
Definitely. I would agree. And I'd also tell Caforio, fight, push back. Don't let Janelli control the strip. Don't let her control the bout. When you go, and when Caforio takes initiative, it's almost always in her favor.
Yeah. Or at least
it really is.
Yeah, in the beginning of the bout, she was doing really well by kind of camping and waiting for Janelli to do something, but now because of the change, that's not working so well anymore. So maybe being a bit more aggressive would help keep that situation from developing.
It really would. All four of Janelli's touches that really changed the bout are strategically identical. The finish is different, but the strategy behind it is exactly the same. Uh-oh. I can already tell it's not looking good for Janelli here.
Why is that? She's getting closer again.
Because she's getting close again, but it was okay that it was close because of how aggressive she was being with the tip. She's easing up a little bit on the prep. She's not prepping as much, and her preps aren't to a target. That's a big problem I see. Boom. The prep wasn't to a target. The finish was from a little too far off. It wasn't as aggressive. She wasn't suffocating Caforio like she was before, and it was a big problem. It's a big problem. She's getting hit.
When you say the prep is not to a target, what do you mean exactly?
So when I say prepping to a target, it's not threatening anything. So there's this idea that a prep can also be a chance to hit and set up for the next action all at the same time. You know, she's not flicking to the hand as much. She's not beat 4 trying to hit to the outside. The prep is just in the air with the half step. It's not to an actual target, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'd also like to point out something else that has nothing to do with the fencing, is that they seem to have noticed that the lights were on the wrong masks and fixed them. So.
Definitely.
Too far out?
And now Janelli really has to be aggressive here, and really she has to fight because she's behind now again. Her footwork's slowing down.
Oh, wow. The first flush of the bout. And she caught her totally by surprise.
Hands down. But honestly, Caforio had the repost here. If she stayed in on guard position, stayed clean and just hit, that was hers. But instead she broke it and bent her back, and there was no chance for a repost there.
Yeah, she just didn't look ready to deal with that. So that was kind of like a quick panic reaction. But
honestly, I don't think I would have been either. It was the first flush of the bout.
Yeah.
It was unexpected. And Janelli just really broke her wrist and bent her shoulder, and it was just poor technique. But tempo-wise, she won that moment.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to rush things.
Again,
she's got a world of time.
She got out and she stayed in that distance for too long without doing anything, and Caforio took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, prepping. Not to really a valid target as much.
Oh, that was big.
Again.
That was big.
She definitely didn't look ready for something to happen there.
Oh, that
nope.
was big. That was
but
big.
It's strange to me that she wasn't ready because of what Caforio was doing this entire bout.
Not just entire bout, like right here, Caforio is being pretty aggressive with her tip.
Really aggressive. And she's taking advantage of the situation that Janelli is in that perfect distance and exposing herself, but not really doing anything.
In a really tight spot. No mistakes.
Janelli really lost the momentum here that she had.
Yeah, that's sometimes the problem with going into the break.
That will do it.
There it is. The final touch. Right here. In that distance, it's just not committed enough. See?
Yeah. It's kind of a weird finish.
It's almost as if she's not fully extending before she's lunging.
Yeah.
It's like halfway, and it's just not committed enough.
Yeah, that was almost like a feet first thing.
That will do it.
It was.
15-12.
So, honestly, I think the number one thing that I've learned from this bout is this idea of momentum. And I can't really speak for other weapons, but I'm sure you know something about it. Especially in Epee, what I see is that when a fencer has the momentum and you're behind and you're doing something that's working and the opponent obviously has not solved it, don't change.
Yep.
Don't change. Keep it, Change may be the final action choice. Change may be the distance. Maybe change the timing on it. But don't change the strategy behind it because it's working.
Yeah, I agree.
But be creative with it.
Yeah, one of the conversations I always have with people is like, oh, it's worked 2 times, I should change because they're thinking about changing. Like, why would you do that? Don't make assumptions of your opponent. If you have something that's working, beat the dead horse until, you know, until they show you that they can defend against it.
And honestly, if it's creative enough, there's a good chance that they've never seen that before. And if they don't know how to react to that, or it's in the middle of a period and there's no break so where they can talk to their coach and they just can't get it, don't change.
Yeah. That's good.
All right. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Nice. That was good.
Thank you.